The goal of this team is to win a Super Bowl. And the only reference that we have in recent memory is the 2019 49ers, which made it to a Super Bowl and eventually lost. However, there are things about this team that I think are better than the 2019 team and important things about this team. We'll just go back and forth so that way we don't take each other's. I'm going to start with one, and I'm going to say this defensive line now, after that trade, is better than the 2019 defensive line.
That was a good ass defensive line, though.
It was, but let me tell you why. We're going to go all the way through it. So at that time, Bosa was only a rookie. Bosa now is better than he was as a rookie. He just is. Same name, different player. Bosa was very good as a rookie, but not as good as he is now. That's number one. Number two, Eric Armstead was playing, quite frankly, out of position. He was playing D end on that team. Now, I know that he would kick inside, at times or what have you, but he was starting at D end. Ford was the one coming off the bench, and then they would move Armstead inside when they would go to a pass rush set. So looking at that, and also adding in the fact that Ford was never just fully Ford that season. I mean, he was dealing with injuries the whole season. That defensive line was pedestrian at times when Ford wasn't playing. And when he was playing, they were elite. He was kind of the cherry on top for that defensive line, and he never could put it together. So for those reasons, I'm going to say that the 49ers now, this defensive line is better than it was then. Although DJ Jones, hell of a player.
We're going with where this team's better?
This team is better than the 2019 team, yep.
There's a lot, but let me get the low-hanging fruit out the way.
I know. I left it for you. Oh, okay,
running backs.
That was not the low-hanging fruit for me is something different, but okay, go ahead.
So I think that 2019 team had better production, possibly, maybe yards per game, but I don't think it was because of the running backs. I think it was because of the offensive line. But running backs, they didn't have anybody in their backfield as good as CMC, the weapon that CMC is. Obviously, Mostert came on that year.
Very late though. Very late.
Yeah, and they had the three-headed monster back then. But to me, the talent in just having CMC makes up for everything that 2019 running back stable had. So to me, the running backs were much better this time around than the 2019 team.
Man, Mostert was so electric though, man.
Yeah, especially against Green Bay in the playoffs. That was wild.
That was insane, wasn't it? Man, he was incredible. He was incredible. Okay. I'm not going to say my low-hanging fruit on this one. I'm going to see if you pick up on it, but I'm going to say,
but I'm going to leave that to the end.
Okay. I'm going to say the wide receiver core is better right now than it was then.
Overall weapons, you could add Kittle in that too.
Yeah.
Kittle's better.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Kittle was really good then. I don't know about that. But I will say this. Deebo Samuel was very, very good as a rookie. But Deebo Samuel now is more established, more a part of this offense. I also think that Brandon Ayuk is better than Sanders was at that stage of his career. Brandon Ayuk is a hell of a player. Bourne, I think, was good, but I think Jennings or Bell or whoever ends up taking that spot. Presumably Jennings is fine. I would take this receiving core over that 2019 team as well.
Cool. I'm going to go linebackers.
I'm with it.
Obviously, Fred Warner was there.
Greenlaw was there too, but he was a rookie.
Yeah. I mean, but the way that these two have gelled and what they've been able to do, obviously Oren Burks is showing glimpses here and there as well. They still got Flanagan. Flanagan Fowles and all that. Yeah, but to me, the elevation of what Fred Warner has turned into, I mean, beginning of the season, we were talking about he could be a potential defensive player of the year, right? And then obviously I think Greenlaw has turned into the best contract that the 49ers have outside of the Brock Purdy contract.
Yeah.
So linebackers, even though similar names, much different game.
I like it. I agree. I mean, the names are basically the same. Now, Quan Alexander was kind of the heartbeat of that defense back then. Remember, he brought. I mean, really, again, I've said it multiple times on this show, but I'll say it again. I love Quan Alexander because I really feel like what he brought to Fred Warner at that time in his career and brought to a rookie Dre Greenlaw, he gave them something that they might not have necessarily gotten on their own. Not from a player standpoint, they both would have been very good otherwise. But just attitude, exactly. What do you bring in an attitude perspective? Fred Warner he talks about it. He was very in his shell before Quan Alexander came along, and Quan Alexander kind of brought the best out of him. And when Quan left, he realized, wow, that was a great role for this team. Somebody has to fill it. Well, that can be me. So between him and Greenlaw, they've filled that role very nicely. But both of them certainly are better players now than they were then. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because this one, I'm interested in hearing what you think. Ward Tart versus Hufanga Gibson.
I would take Ward and Tart.
So can I play devil's advocate?
Yeah.
Hufanga Gibson is much more disruptive when it comes to turnovers than Ward and Tart.
I agree.
And I think that the way that has impacted wins for the 49ers is much more than I can say Ward and Tart impacted wins. Obviously, Ward and Tart were electric. Their ability to kind of interchange positions was, really, really helpful when it came. But I think that the way that the safeties play now actually impacts wins, I would argue, because of the turnovers more than how Ward and Tart would impact wins.
That was always my biggest issue with Ward and Tart, is that they didn't force a lot of turnovers. Rich Madrid and I went round and round, especially on Tart. Ward, I saw the value. Tart was like, I mean, this guy doesn't force turnovers like ever. This is crazy. So I'm with you on that. Turnovers are amazing, and I'm definitely not going to downplay them. But snap in and snap out, I don't feel comfortable with either of the safeties they have now in a single high position. I just don't. I don't
coverage
think
wise, right?
Coverage wise,
it's what you value. Coverage, obviously, that duo's better. But I would say tackling's probably a wash.
Yeah,
but turnovers
is big. But to me, a turnovers happen. But let's say they force a turnover every 3 games, something like that. I think that'd be about a fair number. Let's say they force a turnover every 3 games. Okay, for that game that they force the turnover, that might be the game changer. But for the other 60 snaps, can they cover the way that they need to? And I would say no, and that's why I would say I would take Tart and Ward. Now, long term, I think Hufanga is going to be really, really good. I think he's going to be the best player out of all of them when it's all said and done. But at this moment, this duo, I don't think can cover the way that team did, or those safeties would. So I would say that I value that just a little bit more. But your point is well taken. It definitely is, because when those guys were on the team, I definitely did. That was the one thing that they were missing, and I talked about it very regularly. They don't force enough turnovers.
There's one position.
There's one. This is the obvious. Yeah. Can we just let's just say it? We'll say it. Let's say the position on the count of 3. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Quarterback.
Kicker.
No, quarterback.
I'm just kidding.
It is kicker though. Yeah, kicker. They're way better. Yeah.
It's obviously quarterback. Brock Purdy is way better than Jimmy G. At least, his ability to make this offense go, I think, is much better than what Jimmy G was able to. Obviously, the kicker position is not better this time around than it was in 2019. But yeah, quarterback for sure.
That was good. That was really funny.